Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Marengo Family Foundation, and these friends. $67 million visitors. Wow, people want to be in New York City. They want to be my Apple over here. So really, what's happening on the market? Where do we see the marketplace? Where do we see new developments? Where do we see Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, even Staten Island? So I've assembled this group of leading hospitality experts to provide their input on the hotel market. My guests include Adam Hochfelder, who's a principal at Merchants Hospitality, Sean Hennessy, who is the founder and CEO of Lodging Advisors, Brennan Keating, who is the head of specialty lending for M&T Bank, and Ashish Lal, who is a director at Fortuna Realty Group. So you operate hotels, you lend them money, and you advise people what to do on this. We don't have enough rooms for 67 million visitors, do we, or we have a problem? What do you see?
I would say overall the market is the highest occupancy market in the United States. We run about 86%. What we went into the start of 2019, we had the highest occupancy, the highest room rate, the highest growth in demand of the top 25 markets in the city. We started off 2019 pretty weak because of the federal government shutdown that sort of set the stage for what's been, frankly, a pretty weak year. So it's a little cloudy as to my crystal ball as to where we're heading, because last year in 2018, we had pretty good room rate growth, roughly 3.5%, and it looked like we finally turned the corner. This year, room rates are down about 2% for the year. Occupancy's down a point, so our RevPAR is down 3% or so. So it's been a tough year. We've had a lot of new hotels continuing to open, but as you said, the demand continues to be there. New York continues to be the market people want to travel to.
I think right now in the pipeline in New York, I just read some statistics, 7,000 hotel rooms under development?
There's 15,000 under construction and another 10 beyond on a base of 125,000 rooms.
Now, we have a new hotel operator. I mean, you were involved with the Hyatt going back. How do you see the market today?
So it was a tough year, as Sean was saying. What we've seen is travel from new areas. I mean, as uncertainty happens and what's happening in Europe and Asia, Hong Kong, the last few months we've seen a lot more travel here than we expected, because a lot of the other destinations were either getting canceled or part of unrest. And in an interesting way, you don't want to dance on somebody else's grave. But because of that uncertainty and all the travel that's been canceled over to Hong Kong, New York is the recipient of a lot of that travel because they see that as a similar cosmopolitan market. So with GDP going where it's going and travel increasing a little bit, we think 2020 will have some growth that is better than we've seen in the past.
Ashish?
Sure. So I'll echo some of the sentiments that have been made. So it has been a challenging market on the whole as a macro level. I think we've fared well with our hotels. We have a collection of boutique lifestyle hotels here in the city. One's Hotel Hendricks, which just opened a couple months ago, 176 room hotel with restaurant, rooftop, and 3 others, 2 in Chelsea, 1 in Soho. What I think has allowed us to fare well in this market is because the product what we have is a little more differentiated than some of the other hotels such as a Marriott or a Hyatt or a Hilton. Because we have some of the F&B elements, we're allowed to, or we're able to, offer a happy hour drink when somebody comes in, checks in. We're able to offer them continental breakfast in our restaurants, cocktails on the rooftop, provide some health and wellness activities, i.e., people like yoga these days is a craze. So on the rooftop, we'll have some yoga in our up deck rooftops, or just normal partnerships we'll have with Amex or American Express for our corporate clients, or some lifestyle, theater district tickets.
A lot of people would come to New York and want to be Hilton points, Marriott points. They were point crazy. It's like there's a site called the Point Man. People love it. They count points. They want to see. You don't have points. You're an independent. You're an independent hotel. Certain people are very loyal to the Marriott brand or the Hilton brand or so on. What effect has that you don't have this loyalty programs?
So correct.
And also you, Adam.
So correct. So somebody that's very loyal to either the Hilton or a Starwood or Marriott, that'll be difficult. But we've seen an ever increasing trend of guests who want that differentiated experience or want that boutique style of hotel. So you've seen a lot of these branded hotels actually offer a lot of independent boutique soft brands. So they've gotten away from.
Oh, you mean like the Autograph
Right. So
collection?
they've gotten away from, i.e., a Hilton scripted Hilton room product, hallways, and then they've now got Canopy and Curio. Marriott's got Autograph. So there's been more of a trend, even with the brands, because of the customer going to them. So they want a little bit differentiated product. So I think more emphasis has gone on towards seeing that hotel. It's a little bit different and offers more as opposed to just points in terms of what they've done and what we've done.
Now, as a banker, how do you look at a brand that is a hotel chain that does not have the brand?
Yeah, so I feel in a market like New York, it's not as important to have that flag that you might need in maybe one of the more secondary markets. If it's a suburban environment where people will be looking for that. In New York, I think a product similar that like Fortuna has, where you may have a ceiling of what you can really charge for, your limited service branded hotel. But if you're coming in as a boutique property, people don't have maybe a preconceived notion of what that kind of ceiling rate might be. So you might have a little bit more pricing power on that side. Since
you're not branded, how do you do that?
I think the smaller hotels actually benefit from not being branded. People are looking today, as you were saying, for experiential travel, right? In the old days, people would just pick a Hyatt or a Marriott or a Starwood and just go there and know what to expect. Today, people are looking for an experience, a restaurant, an entertainment center, a concert. And when you pair up a branded hotel with an experience, it almost dilutes the experience and it looks like it's just dressing. But when you have it an unbranded hotel, so for example, our Cachet Hotel or Z Hotel in Long Island City, people are expecting an entertainment experience as opposed to a heavily branded experience where every napkin and coaster looks the same as your hotel in Atlanta.
Everybody knows there's Airbnb, there's Sonder, there are other. What effect has that had on your business since you've been in this market quite a long time?
I think it has a larger impact on the hotel business during the weaker periods when you see the seasons of New York City, you'll see 4 seasons, right? You'll see the winter, spring, summer, and the fall. The winter season, January, February 1, Q1, and I think the summer seasons where you'll see the impact of some of that shadow inventory, i.e. the Airbnb, take more of an impact on some of the hotel because the demand is not as great during some of the compressed periods. So I think we feel that lately in terms of there's more competition for a lesser demand period of rooms. So from our perspective, we just have to do more on our side to entrench some of those customers to come back to us.
Sean, how do you see the Airbnb and the other sharing companies? There's no question that they have an effect.
Yeah, certainly. Airbnb has been receding, if you will, in New York City. So its heyday was probably several years ago. Since the mayor's office has stepped up the crackdown on Airbnb, I think that's had the effect of minimizing the inventory as well as minimizing the comfort level of people who are choosing to book rooms in New York City if they know it may be, not legal or unclear what the legality is. So Airbnb, even at its height, it was maybe 3 or 4% of the transient room revenue in New York City if you added it in to the hotel market. So it has an effect. I think where it really hurt a lot of hotels was in what we call the compression nights, where occupancy gets towards 100%, and that's when hotel managers are emboldened to charge a few extra bucks. Over time, we've lost a bunch of those compression nights in New York, and there's a lot of revenue, but a lot of the profit flows from those high demand periods.
One thing that people don't understand, but I try to view it on the show, is the OTAs, okay? People think, they'll book through Expedia, Hotel.com, all this advertising. While in reality, if they reached out to you directly or you directly, they'll get a better deal because you're not giving away. What percentage do they take today for these Hotels.com and so on?
Sure, they take on average 15 to 22% of the guests coming in. Our viewpoint of these OTAs is it's not necessarily a bad thing. While we don't want to, pay these commissions to anybody really, it is an exposure that I think for a hotel that's maybe first opening or that's still in the ramp-up period, it's a way for a customer to come in through an outside commissionable source, but once they're in, you can then allow them to then book next time directly to you.
I agree. It's important to have the OTAs because it is a source of a business. But one of the things that we've done at our merchants hospitality properties is we've only contributed a certain amount of our rooms available to the OTAs. And we've created this, it's really a regression analysis on what nights we should hand off more inventory to an OTA versus controlling that. So on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night in Manhattan, for the business travel, we have very little available on the OTA. But our algorithm's telling us that on a Sunday night or a Monday night, when someone's looking for a deal, we should probably have more inventory available through the OTA. If you could save the 18% or 20%, it goes a long way. And sometimes it even makes sense to hold a room off the market and not book it, because reputationally you don't want to be known as that hotel that somebody just bought on Priceline for $99.
TripAdvisor and other things can make or break. How do you clean up a TripAdvisor comment that is poor?
I mean, it's just reaching out to the client. So if they really had a forgettable stay, it's reaching out to them, see what you can do to rectify that. And to be honest, we like to maybe prevent that review from initially going up. So, having initiatives in place at the hotel while the person's staying, the feedback ongoing while they check in, presenting what the hotel offers, throughout their stay, the next morning when they have breakfast, keeping engaged with the client, or I should say with the guest, allows you kind of to prevent, maybe that review happening after they leave, because you can prevent it from, actually occurring.
I think it's interesting what Ashish says, that there's a phenomenon called service recovery, where if a guest has a problem during the stay and he solves it for the guest, that guest will have a better impression of the hotel than if they had no problem at all. So by being attuned to what the guests are looking for and addressing their needs, it actually helps the reputation and the enjoyable factor for the guest.
We were in the green room, we were talking about the boroughs. how well the boroughs. How have you, as a banker, been involved with the financing of borough hotels in Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and the Bronx?
I mean, we haven't done too many of them because most of our clients have been in the Manhattan market, and I mean we're a relationship lender, so we are typically following our clients where they wind up going. I look where we kind of are in the market and kind of the challenges we had in 2019. The real way you're going to differentiate yourself is through that management team. So we're trying to make sure that we're doing deals now with people that we know and have had a track record with. And a lot of them just haven't been moving into the boroughs as much as.
What about leverage? How much leverage on the financing are you offering to a hospitality?
It's 65% is typically the number. It kind of will vary a bit depending on kind of where we are when you start looking at a loan per key basis. There's kind of a ceiling of probably where we're going to want to be comfortable with getting to, and that leverage may come down a bit if we're looking at a higher priced on a loan per cost basis. And then depending on if it's a construction or if it's a stabilized property. If it's a stabilized property, we might be able to have a little bit room above that. If it's a construction or more of a bridge project, it may come down a bit from there.
I noticed that Adam Merchants has really taken 2 recent financings from a alternative lender. No, I mean, alternative lenders are the major lenders today in the hospitality market. They're providing a higher leverage and so on. How do you decide on going to the alternative route?
So the recent financing that we just did with at Z Hotel, we did with Taconic Capital, which is a $6 billion fund, and we're finding that today is more along the lines of a traditional lender because they have capital and their credit committees are set up a little bit different. It actually sometimes could be more cost effective than going to a Citibank or a JP Morgan. It's the way they're set up. It's an easier process than some of the banks. Not M&T, they're great to do business with, but some of the banks make it very difficult to get through, even on a stabilized, low leverage loan.
How do you see the financing for your clients?
Well, I mean, the hotel sector is always harder than the other sectors because it has more natural volatility to the business that affects cash flow. So lenders are always a little more cautious. We've certainly seen a little more caution recently as the market has been treading water for a couple of years. But there's still a lot of projects in the pipeline. A lot of them are not yet financed, so it's unclear as to how that will play out over the next year.
Let's discuss the boroughs. How do you see the boroughs as an opportunity? And also, you're not in the boroughs, but you're in Garden City, which is the suburbs, as opposed to the boroughs.
Well, we talked earlier that the boroughs have been having a good year compared to Manhattan in 2019, but they still have a ways to go in terms of parity, if you will. So a comparable quality hotel in the boroughs is generally going to be priced a good deal less than the same hotel in Manhattan. So it still has a ways to go to catch up, but their cost structure is generally lower. The land costs are lower. So overall, they can present a fairly attractive investment opportunity, particularly something like a Z Hotel or something like in Williamsburg that's in a neighborhood where you can get a bit of a price premium.
I mean, before the show, I was searching on the internet hotels in Brooklyn, and some of the newest hotels that they're talking about, these small hotels, the Morgan hotels in Greenpoint, and some other markets, I was totally surprised. I mean, because in many aspects, they're semi-boutique hotels. They're not your boutique type of hotel, but they are a boutique as opposed to Red Roof Inn or something like the Hampton Inn that was built a number of years ago. Where do you see the greatest opportunities for your firm?
You know, we're long Manhattan specifically. I think there are opportunities in the boroughs as well as other cities. But from us, we look at the asset itself first. You know, if there's a unique play, such as the Garden City Hotel that you mentioned, then we'll spend more time on it. From a market's perspective, we're more comfortable with Manhattan and being central there. But if there's an opportunity, you know, we'll take a look. You know, we have the advantage of having hands-on both the management as well as development. So, have the expertise to take a look at a project and see whether it needs renovation or operational efficiencies that we could put in.
How do we look at the limited service, limited size rooms, okay, like the pod hotels and the hotels today? How are we seeing more being built?
I mean, absolutely. We've been a lender for the Citizen M hotel brand, not in New York, but we've followed them to Boston, which just recently opened. We're in construction in the one down in Washington, D.C., and then also in Miami in the Brickell neighborhood. So I think those products do well in an urban setting, in metropolitan areas, and they've also done well at airports. I don't know if the model would work, obviously, in kind of more of a suburban market, but in these markets, they've done well. And I know the Moxie, you have to create a whole common area, vibe and excitement around that. So it really pulls the people from their rooms down into those common areas.
Sean, do you see more of that taking place in New York?
Yeah, absolutely, because the demand has been there. Many of the customers don't have they're staying a short period of time, so the room size is not that big of a deal. They're not staying in the room all that much. They're either in the common areas, which are usually pretty expansive, and the hoteliers, including the Ace and the hotel, they've learned how to monetize those public spaces so that it helps the project overall, or they're outside the hotel exploring the city. So the economics are such that if you can build a small room and make it comfortable, that's going to continue to be the case. Even you see higher quality hotels in New York City, they are much smaller rooms than the same hotels in suburban markets.
So let's go the opposite extreme, the 5 and the 6 star hotels.
The 5 and 6 star hotels today and over time, they talk about the room size and what it looks like and the service. But what's happening today is that it's really the experience, and 5 and 6 star experiences are now being ranked where you have food and beverage opportunities and restaurants and 5-star hotels. So today, and especially in our hotels, it might be in the old days a 4-star hotel, but we might have a 5-star restaurant or a 3-star Michelin chef. We might have a Philippe, which is one of our signature brands in one of our hotels. And we actually measure today on a metrics that we created called ADRP. It's really your ADR plus, and what is that guest spending for that night, not just in his room, but for all of his food and his beverage and all of that stuff. And we're able to calculate whether that's a good guest for the room or not. And so creating these 5-star, my partner Abraham Merchant has created 21 restaurant brands. When we put them in our hotels, our ADRP goes up sometimes at a greater percentage than some of our traditional 5-star
you're different than
hotels.
the norm, because as an advisor to banks, I don't like to depend on the restaurant bill. I like to make sure that the rooms are over there, and I discount the restaurant bills in many cases.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a more volatile piece of the business, so
Right.
It's harder to underwrite because you may have a star chef that comes in for a period of time, and like you said, the ADRP will be very high for that period of time. But if we're doing a 5-year loan, we need to make sure that it's going to be around for 5+ years. So, and the consumer is finicky, so there may be a new place that opens up, and we don't want to have to worry about that, so we underwrite to the hotel.
Sean, do you see more 5 and 6-star hotels opening up here?
I don't think that traditional 5-star luxury is going away anytime soon, but I certainly think that as the new generation of travelers emerges, that traditional luxury is less appealing than it used to be. So some of the newer 5-star hotels in the city that I would consider, things like Crosby or Greenwich, they don't look at all like a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton.
Right.
But their customers are just as loyal and pay just as much as at those traditional hotels.
But I think people have done the same thing. Fortuna is a limited number of hotels, but it's a luxury boutique hotel, and people like it. There's a cachet, which I hate to say, which is your hotel, but it has a cachet for what people want, and people know that you've built that brand, and that brand is really important. What new amenities do you see or new features coming into the hospitality market? Because certain people have been a little upset about the resort fee and so on.
Sure. I think, outside of some of the items I mentioned in terms of amenities, such as the food and beverage elements, we've got double-deck rooftop on some of our hotels, which is usually a hit with, lifestyle and the younger crowd. But I think technology is a bigger play these days with hotels, using, various different apps on your phone. One, as I mentioned, we talked about related to reviews. There's apps now where, you can get real-time guest reviews from a guest on an app, so they can go right to the front desk and go right to the housekeeping, so it keeps people informed. I think check-in, check-out, I think it's become a lot more smoother for guests, so they don't have to wait behind a front desk. We've instituted a new initiative with our restaurants where if somebody wants to go bed at night, he's gotten in real late, he can order breakfast to go the night before on an app, and he can pick it up and go the next morning. So I think technology has really been a way to enhance this.
So even though 2019 has been a little difficult, I'd hate to say that my apple over there seems to be relatively shiny for the hospitality market, especially with 67 million visitors. I think well-placed, well-designed hotels with the right operator are going to do well. And I'd like to thank Adam, Sean, Brennan, and Ashish, and I'll see you next week.